Greetings, my friends, and welcome to Lots of Spots. Before we get started today, I want to invite you to craft with my daughter and with me on Crafting Live with Pandora and Elena every Saturday on Facebook. I've left a link below for you, and I'd love for you to join us. As you can see, it's a very serious affair. So today we're starting with the number 1 strip. That's the thickest on my machine, and that is Antique Gold from Sculpey Primo. I've made myself a little roll. That can be any width, but that's the thickness that you want to start with for this one, number 1. It's easier to make your rolls when you make a strip first, and I always show them that way. And I just bevel cut the edge so that I have less to smooth down on my seam. Just make sure you have a tight roll when you begin so that you don't have a hole right down the center of your cane. I'm going to smooth that down, and I'm going to wrap it in my black. That's also a number 1 strip. I'm going to start out with that size because I know what size I want my border around my dot to be. I know that's going to work for me. You want to experiment with lots of different things. But I've made a little impression when I rolled that over, and I know where to cut. It's hard to see on the video, but it's there. I'm going to put a second layer, same thickness, number 1, around my cane. All I'm going to do is make sure I don't lay the seam down in the same place as I'm wrapping it this time. I want to stagger the seam and trim as before. We've got ourselves a spot now, and I'll show you how to make this into a square cane that we can connect to make our spotted field. I'm going to get my width right about there, and then I'm going to double that up. And that double layer is going to make the corners of my square, and I'll show you. I'm going to cut 4 pieces just about the same width. Those are going to be trimmed back, so don't fuss too much on exactly what width they are. Just kind of make them similar. I'm going to attach them at opposite sides of my cane to create corners. I guess I could put music or something during this part, but I don't know. I never find any music that doesn't kind of annoy me. Anyway, I'm going to put those on there like that. Now you know where to put the last 4 because they're just right equal distant apart. Just cut their tails off so I can stand this cane up and trim it. Now this is the shot here you want to care about. I'm going to take my blade and place it right across those 2 corners of the corners. So you see right where you need to cut that to make it square. It's super easy to see that. It's just take a little care in cutting it because you can always cut a little more, but you know, if you cut too deeply, it's kind of hard to cut a little less. So line up your blade right there. You'll see where your corners are. Just go straight down, and you know, take as many passes as you want to make sure it's the way you want it. Don't think you have to make that cut perfect the first time. It's easier to kind of ease it through there. And once you have that excess cut off, you're on your way to a pretty square cane. If you have any trouble with this height of cane, just remember you could have made that much shorter, you know, maybe a shorter, larger circle, and it's less to cut through. So if you struggle with this part, you can always make it shorter next time or cut it in half today, but it's not hard to do. And now I've got my square started. I'm going to refine those sides, make sure it doesn't have anything too far off, and then I'll smooth it down. It'll be just fine. Once you have it like you want it, roll over it like we do every square cane. This is when you make a decision on whether or not you need to use your square pairs or your cane caps yet. I didn't need square pairs on this one because the softness of the black and the softness of the gold was very similar. And I was able to reduce it pretty easily just by rolling it like this. You roll, you stretch, you flip, like we do with all of our canes. You'll see the square pairs out later, and I use them for a lot of things, especially for canes that seem to have cold spots and warm spots, and they need a little bit more lining up. And that's when I'll put those square pairs shown there on either side of it and roll over that. But I didn't need to do it today, so I'll show it to you next time. I'm ready with this one to go ahead and cut it in 4 because of the way I'm going to use it, and I'll show you that. I just mark it with my blade. The increments shown on my glass mat, designed for you from tinypandora.com. So I've got my 1-inch marks on there. I'm going to put my dots together. Now listen, if you wanted to make a continuous line or just dots, you can. And I'll show you. They just go together and they look awesome, and your spacing's really good. Everything's going to kind of happen for you with this method. You won't have to worry about your spacing. But this is going to be a lot of dots, so I'm not going to put it together like that. But you can see that if you wanted a line of dots, all you would have done is reduce that square down really even smaller, very small, and then just line up your slices. And it's really fun and easy to do. It makes beautiful borders. But as I say, today I'm making a little spotted veneer that I'm going to use on several projects for next week's video. So I'm going to put it all together and reduce it in that form. So take your time lining it up. And as I said, it'll create just the right spaces that way, without anything being too far off at an angle. We'll get ready to reduce that. Now for this one, I'm definitely going to be using caps, because the more, as you go and the more and more complex your cane is, there's more opportunity for the pattern to move around a lot, or even worse, to suck in at the ends. Ugh, right? So you achieve suction by these caps, round ones, square ones, whatever you're needing for your project. I think I've shown the round ones a lot of times. I don't know if I've shown the square as many times, so I thought I'd do that today. So I'm going to squeeze them, make sure that they're really stuck on there. If you ever have your cane caps come off, just trim your ends again, make sure they're really clean and can stick down to that plexiglass. You know, when I first started making cane, I did it with books, and all the books said, you need some plexiglass caps. And I know I always tell the story, but it cracked me up even reading the book. I'm sitting in some little small town. Oh yeah, right. I'm just going to go to Walmart and get plexiglass caps, or I'm just going to go down to the, auto parts store. Where are you supposed to get them? So that's part of the reason I ended up in the plexiglass business, because I thought, well, I'll get some cut for you and polished and sent to me, and then we'll all have them, right? So when you're using caps, you're pressing down on the very base, pressing inward to make it narrower, and down to make a little squished area at each end. Now that squished piece of cane can be as disordered as it wants to be, because it's just going to be the very most outer piece that you're going to cut off when you take off the caps. You see it's getting longer, pushing in, maintaining that flatness against the ends. And we take it all the way down. I didn't show you that whole part. It was so boring. I could barely watch it. I had to cut it out. But anyway, I went on and made it real small. Cut off the cane caps, and here we are. I'm going to put this together and take my time to see how it looks, because it's going to be my final cane. I can take that even smaller to make my borders with it, all kinds of stuff. But this is going to be a veneer, and I'm going to start working on that today. In fact, I'll probably go ahead and record it for you today, because I can make all kinds of things out of that little veneer. It'll be sliced up thin and placed over a scrap sheet, and then I can use it for all kinds of stuff, which you will see in the next video. And there's my dots. I love them. I hope you get to make some dots soon. Show me if you do. And come see me on Sundays with my daughter on Facebook, Crafting Live with Pandora and Elena. And I hope to see you then.